call Jim Wells.
Mr. Speaker, I have to say those who are opposing conversion therapy have been utterly honest in their demands, and I applaud that. We all received a briefing last week from a group of LGBT activists, organisations, who made it absolutely clear in that briefing that what they're seeking, and what clearly this motion is seeking, is a complete ban on all interventions by pastors, priests and ministers on this issue. I'm a married man of 38 years. I have 3 children. If I was in a situation where I started to struggle with same-sex attraction, and I went to my pastor, which I'm not, by the way, and I went to my pastor seeking spiritual guidance on that, this motion and the campaign would mean that the only thing he could do was to approve of my lifestyle choice, commend it, and wish me all the best. If at any time he was to quote from his church's teaching on this issue, which is clearly outlined by Paul and Leviticus, or if by a Jew, by their sacred writings, or the Quran, if at any stage he indicated to me his church's teaching on this issue, then, if reported to the police, that pastor, priest or minister would be up in the courts. People said it hasn't happened. It actually has happened. What about Pastor McConnell from Whitewell Tabernacle, who was up in court for articulating his Christian views on a certain subject? So this does happen. Now, are we, as Mr. Beattie or Mr. Stewart, in the position of wanting to put pastors, priests and ministers into the dock? If they're not, then they should not be supporting this motion. When people talk about conversion therapy, they talk about physically and sexually abusive practices that are appalling, and we all oppose those. There's no difficulty whatsoever with that. But they also talk of innocent behaviour, such as people praying or asking for prayer. And remember, we're not talking about coercion here. We're talking about adults who perceive that they have a problem, going to their spiritual advisor and seeking prayer and counselling. There can be no compulsion whatsoever. I came across an article in The Guardian recently which shocked me. The journalist wrote, "Some churches claim their prayer practices are not conversion attempts." Then the article quoted an activist who said, "That's merely semantics. Conversion practice is the oxygen you breathe the minute you go into a conservative religious environment." The Guardian apparently endorses the idea that conversion therapy is the oxygen of conservative Christians breathe. So when they support banning conversion therapy, then they presumably, and Mr. Beattie and Mr. Stewart, support the banning of conservative religious practices. And I notice neither of them have asked me to give way on that point. Here in Northern Ireland, they are outlawing the beliefs of hundreds of thousands of people, including in Upper Bann and including in East Antrim. Normal, everyday Christian practices and beliefs are being compared to bogus therapy and even rape, and that's considered merely semantics. I am not sure I have strong enough words to condemn that slur. If you're gay and have never stepped into a church, if that's the sort of news you read, and the pictures you're getting of millions of Christians in the UK who are looking at opportunities to hurt you, you're being told that if someone prays for you, it's actually a form of abuse. You're being told that the entire religion of hundreds of thousands of people in Northern Ireland is so toxic it should be outlawed. That is incredibly dangerous language, I'd put that to both of the proposals of this motion. It is a crude caricature of our religious communities.
Members, time's up.
That seems designed to stir up hatred, suspicion against them,
Members, time's up,
and justify taking away their basic human rights.